Right, then we'll just start. So,
Okay.
Shaun, Emulex has been around in the IT market for a long time.
That is true.
And has evolved into a different company that it was like 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
So, could you let us know, what's your focus area at this moment in time, and where are you heading to?
Sure. So I think when you talk about focus for a company, you have to look at the context of the markets and what's going on in terms of those markets. So right now we see three fundamental trends that are really changing what we're doing as a company. The first is virtualization. So certainly VMware and a number of those things have been around for a long time. But you're starting to see that move deeper into networking. You're starting to see that move into cloud implementations, and certainly some of the new storage things like EMC Viper and that sort of thing. The second is software defined. Now, it's a great buzz term. Everyone likes to talk about it. But for us, it means some very specific things, which is when you're able to virtualize something, now you can load personalities onto it, and you can have it optimized for very specific applications. And this is a segment and opportunity in the market where we see a chance as an infrastructure player to step a little further up the food chain and provide incremental functionality. And I'll touch on some of those things as we go forward. And then the third part is the change in application delivery and latency. If you look at our last 16 gig cards that we introduced, yes, they do 1.2 million IOPS, which is 3 times what we did before. Yes, the bandwidth doubled. But the part that is really intriguing people on it is the change in latency. Because as human beings, latency in a conversation is about a quarter of a second to half a second. Any more than that, pause, and you wonder if the person's engaged. Where if you're dealing with a machine, they want it in microseconds, and they want a very precise order and a precise type of delivery. And it's looking at how those three elements are changing the cloud, the infrastructure, and the data center as we go forward, that are the things that are driving our roadmap. So as a company, like anyone else, we have to manage our portfolio. Fiber Channel's been around for almost 20 years. And about 4 years ago, we added 10 gig Ethernet, and we're moving into 40 in that space. And then recently, we completed an acquisition of a company called Endace. And Endace specializes in network recording and network visibility. And that really has led the company down the path that we're on to this sort of strategy that we call connect, monitor, and manage. Because as you have physical layers, then virtual layers, then software-defined layers, and then specific targets for service-level agreements, you can create complexity in there. So the good news is you have incredible flexibility. The bad news is sometimes it's hard to see where the devil is in the detail. And the strategy we've put together gives IT departments, managed service providers, and cloud providers the tools they need to get the best of the new technology without getting lost in the implementation. Long-winded answer to a short question.
No, that's absolutely fine. So basically, your whole business is based upon those three pillars, so to say.
Absolutely.
You're coming from the connectivity side.
Yes.
In terms of your history.
Right.
So, how would you describe the evolution of Ethernet? Where are we now?
Sure. So Ethernet is going through a couple of different phases, and the thing is, these things parallel what you're seeing in storage, what you're seeing in servers as well. So Ethernet's gone from a core connectivity product with 1 gig. When we got to 10 gig, we really sort of changed the game with the converged Ethernet story. And what did we do that was different there? Well, the original goal of Ethernet was to survive a nuclear holocaust. So it was designed to just keep sending and sending and sending. Right? Yeah, it really was. That's what the people at DARPA, that's why they invented it.
Wow.
So you'll note that it's not the most efficient protocol because it's designed to be able to get around any hole in the network. So what we've seen is that as they want more predictability in applications and they want improvements, that's where converged Ethernet came in. Is it said, okay, we're going to give you in-order delivery, so you're going to get the packets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you don't get them, we can guarantee that the delivery of those, and we're going to change the latency. So instead of waiting for lots of pings and returns, we're just going to deliver that all at once. So that was a step function forward in terms of what you saw on Ethernet. As you move into the next layer of Ethernet, we're going to see different uses of the physical layer and other protocols put on top of it instead of UDP and TCP, which are sort of the core things that are used today in the internet. So an example of that is we have a solution called Faststack for video. So in the Faststack, it uses the Ethernet physical layer, but it runs a different type of TCP protocol so that we run at the true wire rate. So instead of having milliseconds in terms of latency, you have microseconds. And it's that change, that evolution, the software-defined capabilities that are really changing where Ethernet will go over the next 10 years.
Right. You talked about the connect, about the manage, and about the monitor.
Correct.
We've talked to quite a number of companies today, and either they monitored, or they managed, or
yes.
they connected.
Right.
So you're doing all three areas at once.
Correct.
So where's your expertise really?
Okay. So when you look at those solutions, there's a couple of different things you can try. So if you look at our connect, and then the monitor, and then the manage, we're trying to create this concept of a network search engine, if you will. We want to be the Google of packets. So there are hundreds of dashboards in the data center, some for security, some for VoIP, some for network performance, some for application performance. And they're like smoke detectors in a house. They can tell you that there's some smoke, but what they can't tell you is, was it a gasoline fire, was it an electrical fire, or was it Uncle Harry with his pipe? You just don't know. And what we allow them to do is say, just like your TV, if you hit record in the middle of a television show, it'll go back 10 minutes and then it'll record the whole show. But we allow them to do the same thing. When they set off that alarm, we're able to go back in time, capture the Ethernet channel where the problem is, and then let them do that forensic level input. So by doing that, they can search the database, they can get just the data they need to find where the anomaly occurred and find out if it is malicious or accidental or just a configuration issue.
Right, so basically an all-in-one solution?
It is an all-in-one solution, but it's at the physical layer. Okay, we work with partners to deal with the vertical applications. So for us to say that we're going to write a better security application than EMC RSA or HP ArcSight or Symantec just isn't pragmatic. But what we can do is say we can take those applications and allow them to interface directly into the recording capability and allow them to search for the data they need. And the difference is it's very much like trying to solve a math problem. If you know where the answer is, it's much easier to deduce the solution. Right now, all they know is that there is an anomaly. They don't know the equation to get there, and we give them that equation to solve the problem.
So you give some proposals what to do?
Yes, we show them what happened, the exact time it happened. And we can do that across multiple inputs. We can also show them what applications happen. One of our favorite examples is when we go to IT shops, and I'll use Emulex as an example. Okay, when we acquired Endace, they did not use social media. They didn't use Facebook. They didn't use those things because they felt they were security threats. But they used Dropbox as a tool to distribute all of their sales tools. At Emulex IT, we had a very broad, open social media policy, but Dropbox was forbidden for security reasons because you could upload files. So when you go onto those networks and people say, no, I don't have Skype, I don't have this, and you record a segment of their traffic and go, okay, here's the 27 applications that are running, and where they're like, that's not allowed. Well, it's happening. And that's the beauty of visibility, is if you can see the problem, then you know what you want to address. And that is why we focus on that, is the search and the visibility capabilities inside our products. So we're not trying to compete with people that do this for a living. We're trying to enable them and give them the tools they need to scale from 1 to 10 to 40 to 100 gigabit in Ethernet.
Those solutions sound like they're rather viable and suited for large enterprises, is that right?
Yes, yeah, it is much more large enterprise, government agency type of sell more than it is an SMB type of sale today. We have roadmap items that will allow us to go further down that path. And we have put together a number of solutions for managed service providers that are providing hosting applications. So that if you go to major hosting site, they will have our equipment in there, and you can get the advantage of that service without having to own all the capital and expense associated with that.
So what kind of price points are we talking about? Where does a solution start?
So for a typical recording solution, you're probably in the 100 to 125,000 euro for a fully configured system that would do what you're looking for to record traffic on a network.
So how do you position your products in the market? I mean, I think it's not particularly easy, despite all the benefits you pointed out now.
It's actually much easier than it seems, because if you talk to any security operations manager or any network operations manager, you're going to see very, very common threads and problems. They call it death by dashboard, because they have hundreds or thousands of warnings that are sent at them every day. And how do they separate the insignificant from the significant? And our product gives them the tools to do that. So it's actually a fairly straightforward value proposition, and it's fortunately a challenge that almost every one of these administrators face at some point in their day.
So those kind of enterprises using your products can see the ROI, the return of investment rather quickly?
Very quickly, very quickly.
And how do you prove that? Or,
So let me give you a great example. We're working with a sports broadcasting company.
Right.
And one of the challenges they had was managing a network of networks. So they're broadcasting some sporting event. In the States, there are 300 television markets. And in 150 of those, they want different commercials than everyone else. So when they went to insert the commercial, their problem wasn't the broadcast of the event. It was breaking the event up to insert those commercials. When they did that, if they missed the window because of network performance issues, they not only lost the revenue for that commercial, but had to give them a free one on the back end. That's very tangible, simple ROI analysis.
Indeed.
And those are the types of things that we help companies do.
Right. So basically, when you go into a new customer, you can show them how they can apply your solutions.
And when you're dealing with enterprises of that size, the ability to quantify what our product does is pretty straightforward, and that's been one of the benefits of it.
Do you have some examples of return on investment calculations?
As a matter of fact, we actually have two analyst firms that are doing the independent validation of those, Forrester and Enterprise Strategy Group. Those papers will be published a little bit later, so that's one of the things that, joining a larger organization, so Endes was about $40 million prior to the acquisition. We're about $500 million. So one of the things we've been able to help them with is scale of their operations. So they always desired to have that data, didn't have it fully calculated, and as you know, having a vendor calculate it doesn't always mean the same as having it validated by a third party. So we'll have that the specific case examples out in the next 30 days or so for people to look at. So if they want to come to the website, they'll be able to see those online.
But you don't have an ROI calculator on your website?
We don't, because quite honestly, people said coming from the vendor, it wasn't as credible. So we've worked with a third party to help develop that, and we've had them interview the customers for this. And that's not uncommon. I mean, as a marketing person, you have to understand that people are going to view many things you say with a certain amount of skepticism. And that's why you have an analyst community to help validate those things.
Okay, Shaun, thank you very much for your insights into Emulex and your solutions. Mm-hmm. Good luck for the show here in Frankfurt, and good luck for your business.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
What was it? If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and comment here. Okay, ich muss nochmal machen. Gee, these bloody YouTube. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe or comment here.